culture, religious and humanitarian endeavors. The MIPAD list shall run through to the year 2024 in support of the 2015 to 2024 UN International Decade for People of African Descent. A world driven by excellence. Together, we can make Africa great again. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Feel free to clap.
Africa, not only known for...
All right, thank you, studio. All right, talk right over to you, please.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us this morning or afternoon, wherever you're dialing in from. House rules, everyone should please just kindly rename themselves and just put the city where they're joining us today. We're very fortunate to have some amazing and distinguished speakers today. I am not going to be doing any speaking because this is all about the women. I just wanted to kind of set the stage and introduce our own, very own MIPAD's Angela Regalado, and she would take it from here. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Tope, for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. I know that we're going to continue to have some participants just entering. So as Tope mentioned, please mute yourself. Feel free to use the chat to engage in conversation if you have any questions throughout the presentation. As mentioned, my name is Angela Regalado. I'm the Global Director of Talent, Diversity, and Inclusion with MIPAD. An amazing opportunity has been created in the last year, right? We've had a tremendous year. And so we will be now working on creating opportunities, right, to connect MIPADians with global opportunities within, career paths that they're pursuing. So I want to quickly just mention that we do have a new site a new link on the website. And if anyone is interested in finding out what some of these newest opportunities are, or just to express maybe interest, please visit us at www.mipad.org/talent. Again, that's www.mipad.org/talent. So today we are joined by an amazing panel of women. And I want to start saying that with today, a conversation with leading women in global creative economy, the goal is to really catch some very good perspective and insight on what has been going on, right, within the industry, and also focusing on the UNC TADS initiative and what that looks like. So I will be just quickly going through some of the panelists. I will also give time for them to introduce themselves. If any questions come up at all, please put them in the chat and I will go through them at the end. We will have a portion for Q&A and we'll have an opportunity to ask those questions to the panelists directly from the chat. Okay, so we do have Karen, Bolanle, Tina, and Lola. I actually want to introduce also Dr. Henderson. And before we do that, I want to go into introductions. So we'll start with Karen, if you want to just introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. And good morning from Los Angeles. I am Karen Horn. I am a Senior Vice President for Equity and Inclusion at Warner Media. Warner Media is the enterprise that encompasses different brands you may know, like HBO, HBO Max, Warner Brothers Television, CNN, Turner Sports, Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers Films, DC Comics. It's a whole array, and it's a global company. And I'm happy to be a part of this amazing group of panelists. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And then we have Tina.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is amazing and an amazing array of beautiful women. I am the Vice President of A&R for Empire Incorporated. We are a record label, a distributor, a publisher, and we are also global, and we are in San Francisco.
Thank you. And then Bolanle.
Hi, I'm Bolanle Austin Peters. I'm based in Lagos. I'm the founder of Terra Culture and BAP Productions. We do movies and stage plays. Essentially, we tell African stories. It's a pleasure to be here amongst all these amazing people.
Thank you. Likewise. And then we have Lola.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am Lola Kimadi Orkestrom, and good evening from Stockholm, Sweden. I am a visual storyteller within the travel industry, as well as an entrepreneur creating opportunities for travel guides and artisans within this pandemic. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm also happy to be here within your presence as well. I actually want to transition now into a short video. We're going to just really provide some more context around the UNC TAD's initiative. And just to quickly, I know I keep saying UNC TAD, and just in case there's some of you who are not familiar with this initiative, it's the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in 2019 at the 74th session of the UN General Assembly. 2021 was declared the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. We're going to have Dr. Henderson hopefully join us, being able to provide a little bit more context within that as well. And we'll be briefly reviewing what that looks like, right, in the upcoming year. We're going to now transition into a short video as mentioned so that we can see what they've been up to. So we'll wait to load that, and you should see that on your screen shortly. There we go.
"2021 is the International Year of 2021 is the International Year of Creative Economy. "2021 is the International Year of Creative Economy. In this COVID period, during which SDG and worldwide economy are so severely affected with devastating socio-economic consequences for the most vulnerable countries and sectors, celebrate creative economy could appear as cosmetic. It's of course completely wrong. Creative industry gives many developing countries and economies in transition an opportunity to diversify production and export, to develop competitive advantage and attract investment. Creative industry can also support entrepreneurship, stimulate innovation and empower people, particularly young people and women, and at the same time, preserve and promote cultural diversity and heritage. Creative economy is just a fantastic opportunity. In 2021, UNCTAD will be collaborating with member states and other stakeholders in this regard. We will be working to raise awareness, promote unexpected cooperation, sharing interesting experiences. We are all actors and protagonists in the creative economy. And that's why I invite all of you to commit yourself, act, and join us in this celebration.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation and initiative. I know that there's a poll, if anyone in the chat can see that on there. So please engage in the poll. It says, did you know the United Nations declared 2021 as the International Year? Perfect. So we have some votes coming in, so we'll see the results of that shortly. So we will be now transitioning in a short introduction for Dr. Henderson, who's going to go over the Year of the Creative Economy. Whenever you're ready, Dr. Henderson. Thank you for joining us as well.
Hi, thank you very much. So I'm Marisa Henderson. I'm the Chief of Creative Economy in the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. The person you just heard is our Secretary General. She's from Belgium, UNCTAD is, as you know, based in Geneva, and we basically help developing countries on how to maximize development gains with trade and with investments. And we, even though we help everybody, we focus on developing countries. And our main, we have 3 pillars, which is consensus building, like we're doing now, engaging with member states, and at the same time we have technical cooperation programs, and we have research. On creative economy, we have been working and helping and raising awareness of this incredible subject for almost 16 years since the member states gave us the mandate to work on this. And UNCTAD, as well other UN agencies, have been working together since then to try to engage member states and promote creative economy for development gains. And so we are very, very pleased that in 2019, thanks to the leadership of Indonesia, who tabled the first ever resolution on creative economy at the United Nations General Assembly. There were already some resolutions based on culture and development, but this was the first ever that was resolution that was tabled connecting the concept on creative economy and creative industries. So it very much engaged not only the cultural diversity and the importance of culture and arts, but also how we can have countries, how can engage countries can make use of this creativity for economic growth, so sustainable gains, and social integration. So as you may, if you just Google creative economy, International Year of Creative Economy, United Nations, you will have the whole text. It is, you go to the website and you will see it in the 6 languages of the UN. And as you will see, it provides a very general definition of what creative industry economy is. It's also called the orange economy. And the reason why they did that is because there are different countries who have different definitions of what the orange economy is. However, there is a core interest of industries that are considered creative industries, and there are some other industries that some countries consider creative industries and some other not. So the important thing is what the connection between trade, intellectual property, and economic growth in a way, in addition to creativity. You will see that one of the key things of this resolution is inclusion. What member states wants us to do is to involve everybody, not just governments, not just the UN. They want to involve the private sector, the NGOs, the creators, everybody who wants to be part of the creative economy in their different capacities. So they member states asked the UN in the different capacities. If it is UNCTAD, we will focus on development. If it is the WIPO, on intellectual property. If it is UNESCO, they will focus on culture and heritage. Each of us, each of the UN agencies will try to work together throughout this year to actually listen from you, listen from the creators and from the different NGOs and the civil society in general, to see how we can actually make these creative industries be beneficial for sustainable development, for the sustainable development goals, for the youth, particularly because this is very, very important sector for the youth and for inclusion, for women, because it's also very heavily related to work related to women, and also, and in particular, even though this was not initially intended, because when it was signed, this resolution, there was no pandemic inside, but now we can see how the creative industry could be one of the key solutions for recovering from the COVID. So I would like to stop there for the moment, and then I come back with any inputs or questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Henderson. And so I actually wanted to mention it is very important, and I'm actually very happy that we have an opportunity to use such a platform, to bring this awareness, right? We did get the results from the poll. So we had 47% of participants did know and had awareness, right, of 2021 being declared as the year of, creative economy. We had 53% who are now informed, right, newly informed. So some bonus points there. And so I want to transition really quick back on the panel. And I want to ask, we went through the introductions already, but just to take it a little bit further before, we continue on, I want to know, how is everyone, right? In the last year, what have you experienced? How has COVID-19 really impacted the business operations? What have you seen within your teams? What has shifted, right, in the last year? And I'll start with Karen, if you, care to share what that has been like for you and your team.
Sure.
As well.
Sure. So as I work for a media company, the effects of COVID have been great on our business. It has shut down production. It has closed movie theaters. And it's changed the way that we work as a business, and it probably will change it forever. We will probably approach it differently going forward forever. In addition to that, I started this role at Warner Media 4 days before we had to start working remotely. And I hired my entire team remotely. So while there are a few that I knew from my prior job that I brought over with me, most people on my team I've never even met. So we have started an entire department. My colleagues and I have started an entire department during this pandemic, and learned to shift in not only a world where COVID has ravaged our day-to-day, the way we perform or act day-to-day, but also the racial reckoning that has happened, particularly in the United States, but really all over the world, has really accelerated the world of equity and inclusion at Warner Media. It hasn't changed it. I believe we were going to do. I know we were on this path anyway, but it certainly has accelerated. So we've really had to make a shift during the pandemic to do business, period. It's not business as normal, but it's our businesses have shifted completely.
Absolutely. And, I actually, I'm a firm believer, right, that everything happens for a reason. And so this being able to push us forward, it's also an opportunity for us to shift gears, right? And so I heard you start the conversation with you having created an opportunity, right, through this pandemic. And I think that's very important, is that we're able to continue moving forward. It's something that obviously, can take away from the things we cannot control, but obviously we're here now. And I think everyone's been doing a very well, great job with transitioning out into something new. Lola, Tina, Bolanle, do you have also some experiences you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I can share from kind of the travel industry expertise, right? Because when the pandemic hit, the whole industry pretty much came to a standstill. And as somebody who works within travel, who needs to travel, it kind of took us all by surprise. But what it also showed us was that our industry is one of the last few industries to be digitalized, right? There are some things that we still do that can be moved into a virtual environment. And that was kind of where the idea for Local Pulse, which is like a live video shopping experience we've created within the travel industry. We've started moving some of those experiences online. And that kind of ties in with the creative economy, because it's again supporting local artisans on the ground so that we can still visit them, still experience the places virtually.
That's right. That's great. And then Bolanle?
Yeah, the same thing as Karen and Lola mentioned earlier. I mean, we were really hit. We're a social space. We have a theater. We do movies. We're a restaurant. We're a gallery. So all of a sudden, from being a very vibrant space, literally we were just seeing reptiles in the building. It was so frustrating and so demoralizing for almost the better part of maybe 7 to 8 months. There was nothing happening in Lagos and in social spaces in particular. And even as we speak, Our theater is not operational because we have government directives that we're not allowed more than 50 people at any one point in time to socialize. So it's been very tough. But then out of these tough times also emerge resilience and, the diehard spirit comes through. So in that time, we were able to kind of like reinvent some of the things that we do. During COVID in particular, there was so much anxiety. And what we thought we could bring to the table was a little bit of levity and to reduce the pain and the fear that people had. So some of our content that we had recorded previously just for archival purposes, we brought them all out and started releasing them on YouTube free to the entire world. And what it did inadvertently was that from nowhere, people who had never seen us in Iceland, who had never seen us in America, began to see our plays. And we're like, wow. We did, as an example, one night we released, it was Morimi, I think, a musical that I directed. It's a folklore story. And we had close to 50,000 views in less than 24 hours. And that's, devices. So you can imagine the number of eyeballs. And we recognized all of a sudden that, oh my God, people love Nigerian stories. And that was interesting for us because stage normally I get about 10,000 people in a 1 week time period. So that was one thing that occurred to us, that going forward, we would begin to record our plays as movies. And talking to one or two online platforms now, they've come to say, listen, bring your plays, record them, because the quality of our plays to a very large extent is much more superior to some of the films that we do in Nigeria. So that is going to become sort of like an offshoot of COVID. And then we stretched ourselves a little bit more. We went into animation. So when government started talking about awareness raising in the space of COVID, to get the word out, we started doing radio plays. These radio plays we converted into animations. And these animations, again, we didn't know how popular they would become. People were beginning to send them back to us from Canada and saying, wow, we saw this. This is so beautiful, right? So these are areas that we never imagined for the life of us that we're going to get involved in. But one very important part that we decided that we had to now go into going forward was movie making, because movie making was sort of like a sidekick for us at TerraCulture. But then all of a sudden we realized that all our content, due to COVID, people weren't able to gather anymore. So as we speak, we just shot one movie. We're going to do another one. So movie making has become sort of like center in the things that we do. And because in the course of doing all the stage plays, we educate and train a lot of young people, we were now forced to create an academy, an online academy that is going to be teaching students all over the world. Wherever you are, you can access it. And that was done during the 12 months of COVID. So it had its downsides economically, but it stretched our minds further than we would probably ever have had done if there was no COVID. So those are some of the examples.
And thank you for the examples. I think, what I like to, always mention is the storytelling piece. So with both you and Lola mentioning, the impact that it's made, as well as Karen, within the studio spaces, right? And even limiting the amount of attendees. I think these, again, are even now in present time being able to tell the story, right? Where that was once, now where we are and where we're going. So I love it. And thank you for sharing. And then we have finally, Tina, if you're able to.
Yes. Our industry was already sort of in that space of streaming and in a digital space to be able to reach our fan base and reach the audience. But it still had a very big impact. A lot of touring was shut down, obviously. So that's a means for a lot of artists and musicians and crews to be able to make money and make a living from. That was shut completely down. So that really hurt a lot of people. For us, we noticed that a lot of artists were a little apprehensive to release music because I think everybody was trying to figure out what do we do? What is the plan? Will people still buy our music? Will people even pay attention? Because there's so much hurt in the world and so many things going on. But we found as time progressed, people started to relax with that. Recording studios started shutting down. So it was up to the artist to be able to record in their home or record in the space that they're in. So those that did not have the equipment for that or did not know how to record themselves, it hindered them for a minute. But it also, I think for us, the silver lining was that a lot of the labels, including us, we realized how important it was for us to have a team that worked hard on their own individually. And it really enlightened us to how strong our team was, because it was almost like, we skipped a beat because we were all, scared and nervous and had anxiety, as everyone said, but we pulled together and we were able to really get some of these releases out, and we had a strong year. Not the best year that, we've ever had, of course, but we had a very strong year. I think it also allowed people to realize that there's other ways to get things done. There's other ways to skin a cat, there's other ways to be able to get music videos shot. You have a video, you can't go to the actual, artist. And if it's someone that's actually, doing a record together, you can't actually come together to do it because of the pandemic. So we would do animated videos, or we'd figure out ways to do visualizers that could take the place, or lyric videos to be able to take the place until we were able to get to that point. We opened and then we closed, so we were able to adjust. But overall, it hit a lot of people. A lot of my friends didn't, were furloughed, or they didn't have, means to be able to live comfortably or as they were. But, there's, like I said, there's a silver lining in it. And, I think we're all stronger because of it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And thank you all for sharing your journey. I think this is just the beginning to something new. And just as the creative economy is being acknowledged this year, I think moving forward, we're going to continue to see more growth, right, within these spaces. And I'm happy that we're able to start here with this conversation. I'm going to transition now into asking questions, directly to each panelist, and I'll start here with Karen. So what is your 2021 Q1 assessment of advancement of women on screen and part of the creative process? So such as producers, writers, directors.
That is my role. My role at Warner Media, as well as in this industry for the last 20 some odd years, is parity. It is gender parity. It is championing the underrepresented voices that have historically not had opportunities or pathways or access in our industry, and creating the access for them. And so, studies have shown actually that women who run sets better than most men do. I don't normally use the word multitasking because I don't know if it's valid or not, but we do. I mean, I think this pandemic has shown us all how it has affected women disproportionately. As soon as I walk out of this door, I'm no longer Karen, the executive at Warner Media. I'm mom, I'm wife, and I'm a dog owner. So they're all looking at me to say, how can you help us, on the other side of this door? And I think we've always struggled. Women have always struggled, or not even struggled, have always had that dynamic of having to do it all. And so we know that women have the stories that we want to hear. We have deals with some of the most amazing women in this industry, like Ava DuVernay and Selma Hayek and Issa Rae, and we can go on and on about Amy Aniobi and Yvonne Orji, and complete a whole array of women whose stories that we're looking to tell, because we know economically not only do those stories translate across the diaspora, but also the women are really good at their jobs, and they do a really good job. And so on the other side of it, for us, it really makes good business sense for us. And ultimately, that's what we are here for, is a business, and we understand the dynamic and the impact of women on that.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. There's so many great examples of that and the many hats that women wear. And this entire month of Women's History Month that's been celebrated. And I'm happy to have seen so many different spaces acknowledging that as well. And so I'll move on to also Bolanle. So as a content curator, film and theater director, one of the most affected sectors of the creative industry is live entertainment. So now that the economy is slowly reopening, what are the lessons learned from COVID-19 lockdown? And I know you briefly mentioned some of those experiences that you had, but how will live entertainment change going forward with this? Like, what does that look like in the next year, the next 2 or 3 years and on?
Yeah, I think, personally, my personal opinion is that things will eventually go back to normal. That's human nature. We're resilient, you know? So there is this lull that will probably go on for maybe another couple of months or a year or so. But we're social beings. People are going to go back to what they love doing. That's the reality. So as some people had said earlier, you know, like 2020, 21 is just to survive, stay alive, and sort of like reinvent. But people are going to congregate. Parties have started in Lagos. People are attending all sorts of events. So given another year, everybody will be like, oh, I'm off to wherever to have a good time. So for us, I mentioned earlier that digitization, we're just gonna have more content online. We have some of our movies on Netflix already. We're just gonna do more content that we're gonna put out there. Our space is here. We're just waiting for government to announce that we can begin to have events again, and we will start. We're using more of our outdoor spaces. So as an example, we're going to have an amphitheater outside on the lawn, which we never used to think was possible before. All of a sudden we're like, oh, actually it's very beautiful. Why not? Let's do our live performances out there. And a lot more people are eating outdoors as well. So the restaurant also is going to have an outdoor element to it. So the nature would probably rule in terms of human congregation for those who are fearful. But the intensity and the energy you draw from having people together in one space, nothing can replace that. That's my view. And once the vaccine is in place, once the protocols are adhered to, people are going to congregate again. Some other things that we've been able to do is to Google. We're working with Google. So again, all our history as an organization, 17 years of being in existence, they've collected all that data now, and they're creating all these cultural institutes online from all over the world. And we were lucky to be one of those 4 selected in Nigeria. So again, all our content is going to be on some online, platform. So I think the future is digitalization, and people will certainly still come back and watch our plays. So that's what I hope.
Great. And I did have just an additional question. So with all of these new projects that are just pending, and of course the event, what about jobs? How does that look like with creating opportunities within the industry as well?
Yeah, the thing is, I think jobs are going to also, the nature of jobs and the available jobs are going to change because the skill sets, especially in Nigeria, for a long time, we focused on everybody being what they call professional, The younger generation are clearly more inclined towards the arts. So we're going to have more people going into tech in Nigeria. We're going to have more people going into the kind of performance. So when Karen was talking earlier, a lot more women in Nigeria, as an example, are directors, producers. These are things that traditionally it was men that held those spots. There are more women doing things like this. The technical field, which is somewhere where we're particularly interested, we're having more women now do sound engineering. We're having more women do lighting, costuming. These are things that on average is 1 to 10 if you find a woman at all. So my energies are focused now on getting more kids into that space. And that's what the academy is about, getting more younger girls going into those areas that are traditionally held by men, and hoping that this will transcend into a lot more people because the product is online. So there'll be a lot more people who will be able to access it.
Right. And that's amazing. And also, Karen, I didn't ask this question, but what do you think in regards to that? How has that shifted, or how is it sort of molding that space to create more opportunities?
As Bolani said, there are a lot of things that are shifting. We have long been going into a digital world, direct-to-consumer world. We've launched HBO Max during this pandemic, and we're really looking at the direct-to-consumer efforts. But in terms of job opportunities, I'd like to think that we are further along in our industry here in the States than for women, particularly. That said, we're still woefully underrepresented. So we're not at parity yet, and we understand that there's a long way to go. But because of that, you look at ways to provide people for those roles that we know are underrepresented. So we've done a great job in collecting data and looking at the statistics to say that this is not just a thought. This is not just, as a woman, I'm saying that we don't have enough of it. This is the data that supports that information, and also providing opportunities in my role, providing pipeline opportunities that help train people, help give them a better understanding of what our industry and how our industry acts, so that they can undeniably be great candidates for these roles as they become available.
And I think that's so amazing, being able to, and you mentioned the training piece, right? Just always being able to mold and being able to pass on the ability to give those opportunities and create the space. So I think it's definitely something that we're seeing, and I'm very excited to see what this year has to bring, because I've definitely seen a shift. A lot more career opportunities have opened up, and a lot more representation, right, is needed. So I'm definitely excited. Dr. Henderson, do you have anything to add? Like, what's coming up for you in regards to the conversations that we've been having so far?
Thank you very, very much. We have received so many requests from member states to get what you were saying at the moment. All the things you have been saying, what you're doing is really, really what member states have been saying and requesting. And I really looking forward. I'm working with MIPAD, and I think we're going to work together to spread the work throughout the year with you guys, and hopefully now have the culmination of that work in ANTA 15, which is our ministerial conference in October. And I hope we will be able to showcase some of the things that you are doing at the moment, which I'm sure will be of interest to the member states. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I think it's great. Like I said, it's just about connecting and creating those opportunities to engage. I very much look forward to seeing what that looks like. And so we're going to move on to Tina. So Empire is a music distribution company and a big proponent of tech and music. The early 2020 results have shown us that it was the biggest year for global music streaming. And obviously, the lockdown has kept a lot of us at home. So how does a company like Empire maintain that momentum as the economy begins to reopen, as we're seeing that early 2020 now into 2021?
I mean, as I mentioned before, we were already in that space anyway, to have majority of our music be streamed to all over the world. So I don't think it's as much of a change for us as it is for other industries or for other people. We just have to continue to put out great music, continue to find new creative ways to reach our audience. I think years ago, I tell people all the time, there were only a few ways to consume music and to learn about new artists or new talent. But now there are so many different ways to reach an audience. And at any given moment, there are several different platforms that you can reach an audience on. So I think for us, we need to continue, the industry overall needs to continue to figure out new ways to reach their audience, new ways to create great music in their own space, as well as just bridging the gap. Instead of always traveling to get a record done, we've learned that we can actually write records with people on other sides of the continent or other sides of the world, you know? So I think it's just maintaining what we've always done.
Absolutely. And so I know social media, right? It's a very important instrument in all of this. So how has, Empire maintained a competitive advantage with social media and using that to, just music streaming and expand on that?
Well, I think we have, first of all, I have to say we have an amazing digital marketing team, and they are on every single platform that happens to pop up, whether it's everybody's using it or not, they are on it. And they, we've learned that every single platform is important, whether it's TikTok or it's Instagram or it's Triller. You have to use every single one of them. You can't decide, oh, I'm just going to do something on Triller and something on YouTube, and that should reach my audience. There's at least 6 or 7 platforms in social media that you have to put your content on. You have to continuously have content as well. One thing that we also learned prior to the pandemic is that, obviously there's at least 150,000 records or artists coming out every Friday. So to keep people's attention, you have to use social media, and you have to continuously use social media and have constant content to reach them. So we know that, and we do that now, but we're just going to put more gas on it and try and push it a little bit farther.
Absolutely. And you definitely made some really great points. We have so many new platforms that continue to, rise. And so whether they're being used actively or not, there's always someone watching. So definitely always an opportunity to capture that. And I want to remind everyone in the chat, all the attendees, a lot of you have joined us since we started. So thank you for joining us today. Just want to remind everyone, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. If anything comes up throughout, the panelist questions, feel free to do that. I will be scrolling through and just picking some of those questions to ask towards the end for the Q&A session. We're going to ask now and transition to Lola. So Lola, through COVID-19, how has that, and I know you briefly mentioned how it's impacted the business operations, but if you want to just elaborate a little bit more on that, and how prepared were you transitioning into the digital marketplace, maybe facing some of those challenges, what did that look like?
Correct. So coming from the travel industry, the pandemic was our reckoning, right? It really stopped us to kind of evaluate what we were doing now, just in terms of over-tourism and not unsustainable practices. And so now the industry is trying to figure out how to build better and in a more sustainable way, and then move some things that don't have to be done in person digitally. So like conventions, right? Those can move digitally. But where I come in as a storyteller, and just my experience within it was, my bit is within culture. And so a lot of the people I met were like local guides, local artisans, preserving culture, creating things with their hands, and so it was a natural transition for me to see, how can we get them online? So how can we get a guide taking you through the souk in Marrakesh, and then you see something and then you buy it. And so we started building that platform, because not only do you see who your money is now going to, but then it's a bit of a more sustainable economy we're trying to create, where those artisans don't have to have their own websites, because most of them don't. But through our platform, we've kind of created this kind of digital marketplace e-commerce for them on the fly. The guy takes a picture, sends the price, automatically comes to your site, and then you can add it to your cart. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to create this platform that also allows local artisans to stop focusing on cheap souvenirs, which caters to over-tourism, so that they can now spend that time actually creating things that preserves their culture, that lifts their culture, and that people are willing to buy. And for us, if you look at the travel industry, lots of companies transitioned quickly to virtual experiences. The good thing is that it's now making travel more accessible. So even when we start traveling again, not everybody could travel in a way that they could afford. So moving a lot of virtual experiences allows people to travel more. And then with Local Purse, which is what we've created, the reason why we are tying shopping in is because of cultural connection. When you go to a place, the reason why you usually remember that memory is because you also brought something back from the place. It could be photos, it could be the scarf. Oh, this is the scarf I bought in, Iran, or this is the spice box I got in Zanzibar. And so what we're trying to do is create that connection as much as we can virtually. So you can say, this is the rug I bought from Aziz, and so that's kind of why we're creating Local Pulse, to kind of empower and create this. And the one thing I really wanted to also add is I looked at a different industry, which is the retail industry, and looked at the macro trend of live video shopping that's currently going on in that industry. And I wanted to Robin Hood myself on the back of that trend to bring it into the travel industry, because the people that need it most are the kind of people down on the ground that rely on tourism, for their income. So.
And I am one of them. I've been participating in traveling as soon as I had the opportunity. It's definitely something that's important to me and the philanthropy work that I do. So thank you, Lola, for just giving us that perspective. I also want to acknowledge we have some amazing people here today that have joined us. I first want to start by acknowledging Janita Du, who's here, CNN Chief of Diversity Officer, and we also have a few MIPADians, right, that are also in the chat. Feel free to engage. We have Monique from Brazil. We also have Miriam from Portugal. Monique is a creative powerhouse from Brazil as well. And so just to bring some insight, if you have any perspective that you might want to share. We also have Miriam, which is the host of Black Excellence Show in Portugal. So very important to just acknowledge the global perspectives that, we do have here today and what that looks like, and being able to take this information and share it within our industries, right, individually, and being able to bring people together and understanding that we've all been going through something similar. It's impacted us in different ways, but we've also been able to transition and move forward in a better direction. And I definitely want to take time to just give the questions, right, that are in the chat an opportunity to be highlighted. So let me just go through here. Please post the questions and I will be selecting a few of them. I'm seeing here from Danielle. Danielle, you're asking what is needed to support a creative workforce, right? So what does that support look like? It's a good question. I briefly just made mention of that. So if any one of the panelists wants to take that on, Danielle is asking what is needed to support a creative task or workforce?
Well, I'll jump in. And I think, this is, a lot of my focus is in front of, on the creative side, the writers, actors, and directors. We have someone on our team who oversees our workforce efforts as well. I think both are important. I don't think you get the creative in our industry unless you have the people, the executives who can see their visions through the lens that will help it flourish. So we've done different things within Warner Media to help our creative leaders, whether they be our showrunners or our creative executives, have an equitable mindset. We know that the build landscape has been built on systemic racism. We know that the landscape has been built where women are not at parity with a lot of men. And so what we've done is you can't ask people to be better with the assumption that they don't know better. I often believe that people know better, but we can't assume that. And so we try to take away that assumption that they know better and show them better and show them how to understand that we're not always looking for cultural fits, that cultural adds are so important to the work we're doing, and that we have to really kind of look beyond what what someone's comfort zone is. It is easy to work in the uncomfortable, but to work in the comfort zone, but we need to make people be uncomfortable and be good with being uncomfortable. And oftentimes that means not having an equitable, not having people who work with you that mirror your image or mirror your thought process. We know that's not good. It's not good in a classroom. It's not good in any industry to have the same thing, the same thoughts. So we've done a lot in trying to spread, and let people see the different points of views and how important they are to have success in our business.
Absolutely.
Angela, let me add to that. I think with Nigeria in particular in mind, I think the thing that we do here to support creatives essentially is, number one, job creation. I mean, unemployment is on a record high in Nigeria. And what happens in the creative sector is that most people live literally from one job to the next. So that was even more evident during the COVID crisis, because you just found a lot of young people who otherwise had this, they're not your regular 9-to-5 jobs, right? So they live off every production and wait for the next one. So all of a sudden there was a complete halt. So the first thing that I think that people need to recognize, especially governments and institutions like the UN, is that the creative sector needs to be recognized as probably one of the biggest employment generators, especially in Nigeria. And we need to ensure that when people are defining work, the traditional way of viewing work has changed. People don't have to have a paycheck 365 days of the year to consider themselves as workers. And that is a definition that really, I think, it boggles the minds of intellectuals and also people who are in the traditional workforce. It really needs to change. And I think also something that we can do for creatives is to allow them use their art as collateral for getting access to funds. That is another problem that we have. People don't recognize art as assets or collateral for anything. So when artists have created a work of art, visual artists as an example, you can't walk up to a bank in Nigeria or whoever and say, look, listen, you can use this as collateral for access to funding. Or even I, a filmmaker, it's still very difficult to access grants in Nigeria or funds or loans, and they're asking you for a piece of land, a parcel of land, when you have this creative asset that is, they can see it, but they can't convert it mentally into money. For them, it's still not an asset. So for me, those are the kind of challenges that we're still facing, because sadly, they just don't see this as anything valuable in some parts of the world. So I think those are the kind of issues that we still need to, and that's in the area of policy and discourse and creating an understanding of how this space works in the minds of a lot of people. I think that's for me at the moment is what I'd like to add.
Thank you. And Lola?
Yes, so I was just going to add, as with anything disruptive, which is what Local Plus is, there will always be challenges, right? And so what we are coming up against is local artisans that need to trust that they're going to get paid afterwards, right? Because when you go to a market, you usually have cash, and then you barter with somebody, and then you pay right away. So onboarding local artisans and letting them know this is a new way, it's going to give them steady work, but then the money comes maybe a bit later because the customers have to get the gifts. That is some of the things we find in some destinations, and then they are saying, okay, well, we're going to wait until travel opens up. But this is what we're building. This is the future, and we see it. It's a trend. It's already a trend in another industry. And so we're building it for the travel industry. So it's a lot of education. How do you get a charismatic guide who is very charismatic on the ground in person to be charismatic via video, So it's a lot of training as well, but it's worth it because we know this is going to really open up, just the industry and create more opportunities, direct opportunities without the middleman for a lot of communities.
That's right. And so I want to just add for the participants, I want to be able to take a photo. So please, if you can turn your videos on. We would love to capture everyone that's here today. And thank you, Lola, for mentioning. I think it's very important, right, to being able to transition that presence from in person, which is very personal, to then video and be able to translate that and reach people within the platform. And I think just being able to provide that within the workforce is very important, because a lot of even interviews have transitioned to virtual, right? I've definitely seen even the struggles behind that. Just to go off topic a little bit, sometimes those are, and that's one thing that I'm working on too, is being able to reach people, because sometimes you may have great talent somewhere, right, all in the entire globe, but it's a matter of being able to reach them. And sometimes the even having access to a virtual space in order to get a job, right, to interview or be considered for a job may be the challenge at best. So definitely something important to always remember, just being able to transition that in a virtual space as well, and having that presence. I want to ask, Marissa, if you want to chime in as well, within the question itself, and just even being able to support the creative economy. So how can NGOs get involved? Like, what does that look like?
Thank you very, very much. I actually saw the question there, so I put in the chat room a link. So NGOs who would like to record an event or want to reach out and be part of the International Year of Creative Economy could go there and upload their event, and we will come back to them. That will be very happy to do that. But also we are working with MIPAD, and we to try to bring the creators from African descent into the picture with gusto, and so we can also we're working together with them, and I encourage you to come up with ideas, and we will be happy to consider them.
And I think that's great. And just to bring to light again, the link is in the chat. So feel free to engage there. If you have any additional questions, please post them as well. And thank you, Marissa, for providing that platform, right? That additional tool that can be used. I want to ask Monique's question here. And I see here, how can we accelerate the development of Black talent for the future of work, considering the complexities of education and access to technology in some countries? So a question completely related to what I just mentioned, and also what some of the panelists have shared. And I think it's a great question. So I want to still provide an opportunity for the panelists to ask. So what does that look like within the space? So being able to use, for example, Monique's question in regards to the complexities and also the technology challenges within some countries and not having access.
I mean, I can share something because, since I work within the travel and we're working with different destinations on the ground, the biggest challenge obviously is if the internet connection is not great, then the experience is not gonna work. And so that is also limits kind of where we start, where the people we can onboard. So I can only talk to that technology, right? In terms of making sure people can access the technology, have at least 3G minimum, to be able to do something. And I think in most places, people are very kind of mobile savvy. Most people have, mobile phones, 4G before they actually have laptops. So I think in that sense, the world is a lot more ready than people think it is, because especially like in Africa as well, it's people are a lot more ready than the world actually thinks, more already connected technology-wise.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know even with Warner Media, we've seen even the platforms being created. I know that even with MIPAD, we try to engage as well within different social platforms to be able to capture a lot of the traffic. And so we've just reached our hour within the first hour of the panelists and the questions. And thank you everyone for being with us and sticking it throughout. I do want to take a brief pause to be able to take a photo, right? I want to be able to highlight this moment as we are closing out Women's History Month, and want to make sure that we are documenting this, right? This is a part of our storytelling, being able to come together and provide the opportunity to have everyone in this space talking about your perspectives. So if everyone, let me see, will start to turn their videos on. We're gonna have our tech team focus on taking some screenshots, and we can put our photos together. I see Camille smiling, cheesing in the background. So let me see. All right, thank you. We have a few more. Thank you for turning on your videos. Some beautiful faces here. So just give it a moment more so we can have everyone there. All right, so I'm gonna do a quick countdown and we're gonna get some photos, okay? So I'll give you, all right. So 5 seconds. So 5, put your best face on, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Yes, some more faces popping up. Thank you, everyone. We're going to be taking just some screenshots, so you can continue to turn your cameras on for those of you that are joining. Thank you. All right.
A big thank you for all the MIPADians around the world who are on. It's good to see everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Camille. You want to introduce yourself, Camille, now that you're on? We've got some great photos.
I'm just here to take the pictures and support the women. We love you and we celebrate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And so, just to transition back and I want to, just bring it back to Marissa as well. So given that we are now here in this space, we've brought some attention to, some of the challenges as well as some of the new creative processes that have been set in place. So Marissa, moving forward, I want to, just ask you, what are some things that you're excited for, that you're looking forward to in the next coming months in regards to this new initiative?
Well, one of the key things is that in 2022, we will have to present a report to the General Assembly on the implementation of the resolution. We and that are the pen of this report. So everything that is happening this year will be part of the report of 2022 to be presented to the General Assembly. And I'm very pleased to be here because this will be part of the report. And what is more, so whatever the creators and the governments and the civil society are doing will have an impact on how we go forward. And this will be important for policymakers to understand what you need, what your challenges are, what are the challenges for the future, what creators need and what government needs. So for us, it's very, very important of all the ideas that you brought up. You mentioned all these things about the COVID and how we are doing things different. I completely agree. It couldn't have happened in a better year, because we will be able to bring the attention to policymakers, including what you mentioned about the employment and job creation. The creative industry is one of the most heavily dependent. It's a very, very job intensive industries. So policymakers need to pay attention to this sector in order to recover from COVID, to have sustainability and growth, economic growth. So I will encourage you to participate and to tell us what your needs are and what your challenges are, and hopefully in ANCTA 15 in October we will be able to bring together some of your voices and show them and showcase them in a very positive way.
Absolutely. And we're going to start to, we have some beautiful photos, by the way, I'm just reviewing them as well. Beautiful photos of everyone here today. So thank you again. And as we start to wrap up the Q&A part of this segment, I want to actually, bring light to MIPAD's Creative Edition, right? So as part of the work that we've been doing and that we're going to continue doing is just bringing forward, right, the opportunity to nominate right, to engage with those that have been excelling in these spaces, especially a creative space. So with the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development, MIPAD is launching the Creative 100 edition. And so that includes TV, film, music, fashion, visual arts, theater, media, architect, just to name a few. And so we want to bring light to this and be able to highlight, the hard workers and all of the work that they've been doing, especially within the last year or the last, couple of years. We want to be able to acknowledge that. And I want to mention, if you haven't already, visiting www.mipad.org, it would be a great opportunity to be able to see what we've been able to highlight. What are some of those, leaders in their spaces that have been able to create those results. And you are having an opportunity to then submit someone who you think has, done an excellent job within the space, the creative space. So please take some time, anyone in the chat, to visit the website. If you, have someone in mind, please use that nomination form. We would love to see, some new faces. And I want to ask the panelists, who are some individuals that maybe you would like to see in the Creative 100 edition? Do you have anyone in mind or that comes out even from your team that you want to shout out? Karen.
I would like to shout out the CEO of Empire, Ghazi Shami. He's done an incredible job of bringing several cultures together. Our team overall, it's multicultural. Everyone some have had jobs in the industry, some have not. And he's leaned in on the people who have and leaned in on the people who haven't. And we've taught each other what we don't know about each other's culture, whether it's, musically or what have you. He is a fierce leader, but he also is very compassionate about how we deal with each other and deal with everything under the sun, from politics to music to just overall inclusion of everybody's culture for music. I think he would be someone that I think would be he's not of African descent. So of course that's something different. But he is one that I feel is very important to mention in my company.
I'm happy to hear. He's displayed amazing leadership, and that is amazing to see, even through pandemic, being able to provide that leadership. Thank you, Tina.
I can jump in and add someone, and I'm sure you probably are like, we know her, it's not a big deal. But when I think about what people have given to our culture and supported women and MIPADians, people of African descent, no one really comes to the top of that list more than Ava DuVernay for us. And Ava, in terms of like the products she puts out, but what you may not know about her is that her behind the scenes efforts are as strong as the work she does in front of the camera. She on her show Queen Sugar, she frequently has nothing but women directors. And she just created the Array Crew database, which Warner Media is a major sponsor of, the founding sponsor of it, in fact. And that database helps people who are underrepresented in our industry be known, be seen. If someone, every studio in this company, in this industry, is participating in that database, and that's going to give people opportunities where just to be known because they weren't known before. So when I think about people who have lifted up other people who are doing things to give back to our communities, Ava is probably one of the people who comes to front of mind for me.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
And I'd like to just add one person as well that just comes to mind is, her name is Gloria Atanmo. And Gloria is just an amazing social educator and creative that has just within the last year, she's been in the industry for many years, but within the last year has used that platform to really educate and bring people together throughout this kind of racial reckoning that happened, last year and this year. So Gloria Atanmo, of Nigerian descent as well, just a great voice right now within the social educating space.
I love it.
I'm sorry, I wanted to correct that. He is of African descent. So I'm sorry that I said that. He is of African descent.
Yes, thank you, Tina. That means, again, the submission can go through. As I know, I see a few others were raising their hand. If anyone else wants to drop it in the chat, if there's anyone you would like to see, you can drop the names in the chat as well. I also see that we have Representative Monique from Brazil. If you are able to hear me, if you want to join in and add also to the conversation. Let's see here. So I love the engagement piece. And I think it's, as I mentioned with MIPAD, we have this opportunity to be able to highlight the creatives, this year. And it's going to be a very, very powerful experience that we're going to have. A lot is shifting. A lot is being created. And I think that working in partnership with all of you, and thank you all the panelists for being here today, this is an amazing start to something new. Although we're closing Women's History Month, I believe it's every day, right? We get to celebrate. I want to, now transition to, Camille, who has created this and created an opportunity for all of us to be here and to be able to share, the results that have been created through MIPAD, right? The most influential people of African descent, and being able to connect, the counterparts to the diaspora. And I think it's an amazing time to do this, and it's needed. It's definitely needed. So I'll transition over right to Camille, if you're able to unmute yourself and just.
Absolutely. I've been watching, I've been listening, just a lot of joy and a lot of knowledge that you've shared. So Angela, you are such a great addition to the team. Truly grateful for you having, coordinate this show. Studio, can you please? Okay, good. Now, let me do what I do best, right? This is Camille, and I call myself the connectologist. And throughout the time I was here listening, I could just see the connections. One of the main connections that we do is to connect you to initiatives that the United Nations are working on. So I'm truly grateful to have Dr. Marisa on, and we definitely look forward to working with you throughout this international year of the creative economy. So thank you for joining us from Geneva. It's good to have you on. And very quickly, the connections we create at MIPAD is connecting the diaspora with their counterparts inside Africa. And it's just a joy to see Karen here in LA, and to see Tina in San Francisco, with Bolanle, who is on the continent, with Lola, who's in Sweden. And the first thing I'm going to, ask Bolanle to do is, she's been very modest, right? She is the queen of Broadway on the continent. And, I want her to just use this opportunity to invite her counterparts to Nigeria. They've all been, wanting to visit Nigeria. So Bolanle, I'm just going to ask that, we've had these conversations many a times. The COVID, yes, it has had its pros and cons, but now the whole world knows what you're doing. So I really want to acknowledge you and the work that you do on the continent. And if you can unmute your mic, just to reach out to your formidable counterparts, on the other side in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, just extending that invitation to Africa, that would be fantastic.
Okay, so you all sisters. It would be nice to have you visit Nigeria. Like Camille already mentioned, we do quite a bit here. It's unfortunate. I think the beauty of it is that COVID has actually made us all a smaller world. So We're getting to see ourselves more, and we're beginning to see our works from all over the world. So we do a lot of stage, and like I said, we do movies as well. And it'll be nice if any one of you is interested in coming into Nigeria, in partnering with us, in working with us, in doing co-productions, in visiting. When you come to Nigeria, please visit TerraCulture. It'll be an honor to have you with us. And I promise you'll enjoy what you see.
I might take
Absolutely. 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 Thank you, Bolanle, for that. I mean, it's very important to extend that hand of friendship from the continent to our diasporan brothers and sisters. But this has truly been an amazing conversation. And I also want to extend, a thank you to Dr. Marissa in terms of, the work that she's doing at the United Nations to get more awareness for this international year. So I'm going to ask Dr. Marissa, this is an opportunity. You're talking to some of the best and the brightest from around the world, from, Nigeria, the largest, country with people of African descent, with Brazil, with the US, with Europe. What is it that you would like to see from us as people of African descent in supporting this international year? Dr. Marissa?
Thank you very, very much. It's a great question because I truly would, every 4 years we have this ministerial conference in UNCTAD. Our main, I would say, our main clients are developing countries. So for us, it will be amazing to showcase in UNCTAD 15 the amazing things you're doing, something from Nigeria, something from what you're doing cinema. So it will be amazing to show in maybe a little bit on different categories. Music and I would say cinema is one of the most incredible things we have been showcasing, and it has a lot of investment potential. So I think if we could showcase that, just a teaser through a video, or through if we could do a fashion show, or if we could do a concert that we can actually bring together that, so people see this is reality. This is not just simply a report. These are people behind this. There is personal stories behind this. And I think if we could showcase that during the year, and it will be there forever because it will be online. So we will be able to cap. And I think this is a message that we can give to policymakers, so they can, when they think about policy, they will say, yes, we need to pay attention to this issue. And it's not just because it's nice, because it is actually very inclusive, and it will actually make us happier. It will be healthier societies, and it will be more sustainable economic growth ahead.
Thank you so much for that. And what I hear you saying is that we need to humanize the creative economy. Who are the people behind it? So the music is created, it's put on a digital platform, it's sold, it's bought somewhere in the world. Art is created, it's sold and bought. This economy, right? When you look at the positive of COVID, it's actually now moved it into the digital space, right? So we see that there's a more, interaction, with the world in terms of exchanging, creative works, right? So let's humanize that. And you heard it here. You heard it here first from the UN's chief on creative economy, is for us to tell those stories. Many of you here are storytellers. You're some of the best and the brightest storytellers in the world. So let's work with the UN, and let's work with, MIPAD as the most influential people of African descent to gather these stories from around the world and share that with the world. So Dr. Marissa, it's been a joy since we've started to engage. Thank you so much. Love the work that you're doing, and we're super excited to be working, with you. Now, I would love to also hear a little more from Karen. So Karen, what are your thoughts about what this year looks like? I mean, when we started talking about the list, I see you were throwing nominations out there. It would be great to partner with you in curating this global list of some of the most creative people of African descent. I'm going to ask the studio, if the studio can show, I have one slide. We're about 15 minutes out, so we can end this, but I have a slide I wanted to show. So studio, if you can please pull that up. But while the studio gets that up, Karen, I just want to get a feel from you. So what does that look like in terms of curating, a global list, right? To begin to identify and recognize some of the best and the brightest in the space, so we can, collaborate. Because collaboration is the new competition now, right? Sure. What does that look like for you?
I don't think that collaboration is competitive. I think it's smart. I think that collaborative is being collaborative is how we succeed. But I and as I said earlier, Warner Media is a global company. We have productions that span the globe. But we also, more importantly, we broadcast. We provide content to our global citizens, and the importance of providing content that not only reflects the cultures that we provide it to, but also is embraced by those cultures, can only be accomplished by engaging in the cultures that we were providing that content to. Part of my role at Warner Media, or the majority of my role at Warner Media, is finding those creatives, that those content creators, that talent, to help provide that content. We have a team in Canada that is creating different programs that we will duplicate throughout the world. And so the way we're going to do that is really focusing on talent like Bolane has in Nigeria, talent that we find in our different markets that and like I said, we're global, we're all over the world. So we've just started. I've just started in this role, and we got to accomplish what we're doing here first. But that is always meant to be the blueprint for how we expand globally.
World. No, it's absolutely. So such a pleasure and an honor to hear your voice. We've done a fantastic job just talking across all of the different facets of the creative sector, from television to film to music, through the arts, and what that begins to look like. The new NUM, we are all part of creating what that begins to look like. So this is great collaboration. And for all the panelists, if there's something on your heart that you want to collaborate on, like I said, the collaboration is the new competition, meaning we need to compete to see who can collaborate the most, right? So that's where let's start collaborating, right? It's the new black, like I always say, right? So if there's anyone here as a panelist who has, something you were looking for in terms of collaboration, what's a wish list that you have that we can take on right now and begin to support you to connect you to that possibility?
Yeah, I think I'll jump in because with Local Pulse, what we're doing is really something that's in the startup world. They say we're creating a painkiller for the travel industry that then becomes a vitamin in the long run. And we would love more kind of organizations to get behind what we're trying to do, because we are really trying to, Local Pulse, we address 6 of the UN sustainability goals, as small as our startup is. So this is a startup that has the potential to really kind of revitalize the industry in many ways, make it more equitable in many ways, make it more accessible in many ways. So, this is something that we hope, more organizations, UNESCO, UNTWO, UNICTAD, to get behind, because I think this is something, and I'm so excited about this creative economy year, and we're definitely going to be involved in trying to be part of it and share the message as well. So that's my...
Very good. That's a true MIPADian. I also see there are a number of MIPADians too from around the world. If you do want to chime in, please definitely jump in. Regina Jean-Baptiste, I see you. Samantha is actually here too from Warner Media. Thank you so much for joining us. Monique and Ambassador, also from Trinidad and Tobago. Makita, thank you so much for being here. I see Joanna, one of our global executives in Washington, D.C. Thank you all for being here. Before I go around and ask Angela to do the final thoughts, I just want to share this quick calendar of what it looks like for MIPAD in supporting the International Year. So today really marks the beginning of that. If you can see the screen, we have today kicking off that, the end of Q1, also the end of celebrating Women History Month. We had this amazing panel. Thank you so much all for being here. And Dr. Marissa also mentioned there's going to be a one-day high level at the United Nations in May that would be great for us to curate stories from around the world about how the creative economy has social and economic impacts at all levels, right? This is something we look forward to working with each and every one of you with. So if you have a story that you want to tell, you're working in the space, please definitely reach out. And then in June, we plan to release our most influential 100 list, at least to announce the honorees who we will be recognizing. And of course, the UN General Assembly this year is in September, and Recognition Week, which is MIPAD Recognition Week, where we celebrate and recognize the most influential, not just in the creative space, but just across the various sectors that we do every year. And also, Dr. Marissa mentioned a very big part of this year is going to be in Barbados, and the World Conference in Dubai. So this is big, this is global, and people of African descent really need to be a part of this international year. Let's bring to the table, let's show the world our contributions, our positive contributions to the creative economy. So this is my quick word on this program. It's a privilege and an honor to even get to speak on this stage with you amazing women. So I'm going to hand this back over to our leading lady at MIPAD, Angela. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Camille. I'd like to just wrap up by thanking everyone that is here today, everyone who's been here with us throughout this hour, with the panelists. Thank you so much. For the work that you do every day. I know that it's, as I mentioned, Women's History Month, and we're wrapping it up. And I think this is such a powerful way to sort of just express what work we've been doing, right, as women globally. And I'm very, very honored to be here and being able to be a part of the conversation as well. I want to just remind everyone, if you do have any additional questions or any comments you'd like to add, please visit the MIPAD website. That's MIPAD.org. Panelists, Karen, Bolanle, Tina, as well as Lola, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the conversations, and also for providing insight on what is next, right? What's next for you, what's next for the industry and for the world, and what we're looking into, moving forward with. And Karen, you made a very good point. You said collaboration is how we succeed. And I couldn't agree more, right? That is at the root of it, where change happens. That is where progress happens. And I think that's what we've seen is effective and that we continue seeing. And I'm thankful that we're able to all be in this space and share the same message. If any of you have any final thoughts, please share. I am very thankful for having you all here today. Thank you to all the participants as well.
Yeah, if we can just go around each of the the panelists, just to share a final thought before we hang up.
Yes. I can start. I just wanted to say that, first of all, it was really informative to just hear everything that people are going through or what they've learned in this pandemic from all different parts of the creative equation here. I do feel that all of us in all of our creative spaces can work together and have worked together. Everybody needs music. Everybody needs art. Everybody needs to see film and television. I think that's going to be important for us. Going back to just talking about what we need to do in the music industry itself, I feel like it's important that we start paying attention to some of these streaming platforms and figure out how we can pay our creatives a little bit more than what they're getting paid for their art. Because their art is, like Bolanle said, they don't put enough value on the art. There's not enough value on it. And the musicians that are in creating the records, the songwriters, the producers, they're getting pennies for their music. And I think that's something that everybody needs to pay attention to because we are in a streaming industry, and these platforms are making a lot of money, and a lot of the money are going to the larger artists. But there are young artists that are coming up that are trying to make a means through their art. I think that is very important. And I also feel, at one point when I was growing up, we're not going to throw my age in here, but as I was growing up, there were a lot of music classes. There were a lot of art classes in school and educating the youth. That is probably one of the most important things for me, is being able to educate the youth, get the youth to realize that this is a way for you to live, a way for you to be able to make a living and love what you do, So I think if in every industry, we need to really hone in on trying to teach the youth, trying to get these schools to bring music and art back into their schooling, because that is what's missing to me.
That's right.
Thank you, Tina. And I can go as well. I just want to say, thank you all so much for having me here and just meeting all the other ladies and learning from you all. It's just been an honor. And one thing I will give as advice is, in whatever industry you're in, look at other industries and see what's working, right? Look at the macro trends, in other industries. Look at, work. What's the future of work? It's remote. What's the future of retail? It's virtual shopping. What's the future of all those other industries, and see how you can leverage and bring some of that into your own industry to grow it. And that's what we're trying to do. So that's just my advice, is sometimes change is difficult. It's painful. Transition is. But if you see what's going on in other industries, it might be able to help save your industry.
Right. Okay. I'll go in. Thank you so much, Camille, and everyone for this platform. I've also gained a lot from listening to everyone. And just to reiterate, as has been mentioned, I think, by Karen, Tina, everybody, co-production is the way forward. We have beautiful, amazing stories in Nigeria. Folklore, real stories, fake stories, everything is there. So the beauty of it is that we have been able to package them so well these days. And I'm sure some of you who have seen our plays in South Africa, in Egypt, in London, where we travel, we're completely sold out. So we know that all that is holding us back essentially is a stage. We need a world stage where people can see us as they've seen Burna Boy. Everybody's going on about him. There are thousands of Burna Boys in Nigeria. And we have the opportunity here where if we collaborate, we can take our stories to the rest of the world. Lion King is small. We have too many beautiful stories. And we're just waiting for the opportunity. Because sadly, we don't have philanthropies or governments that can support our initiatives to bring out the beauty of our craft. But if we're able to work with institutions who can do it internationally, then everybody wins. So to collaborations, that's what I'm about. We have the stories, we can work together, and we can bring joy to the world. Thank you.
So thank you, Camille, Angela, and Tope for having us here and giving us the opportunity to recognize that we are all closer, even if we are in Nigeria or Stockholm or San Francisco, Cleveland, New Jersey, or Los Angeles. We are all a lot closer, and we've learned that through this pandemic that we're closer. And I think we've also learned that our stories are very universal, and that even if we may not appear to be the same on the outside, our wants, our desires, and our stories are very, very much universal. And no matter if the way you tell your story is through art or through music or through education or commerce, it is still art, and it is still a story that we very much are interested in hearing and knowing. And I look forward to getting to know everyone and their stories better. So thank you all for having us.
Thank you. And it's been amazing to have you all here. And the last thank you, I want to close out by saying thank you to Dr. Marissa Henderson and the team at MIPAD. If it wasn't for you all believing in this and really sticking it through and creating this opportunity, we would not be here. So thank you so much, Dr. Marissa. Thanks to you and your team. I very much look forward to seeing, what growth is coming out of this, right? What lives are going to be changed and impacted, the empowerment that it's providing with the inclusive opportunities within the economic growth that we're looking to create. So thank you so much. If you have any final words, we can wrap up.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm honored to be here. I'm so honored to have shared this with you, and I'm really looking forward to continue the collaboration with you all.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you. Shout outs to the studio team for holding the technology piece together. Really much appreciated. And so, now this concludes, I believe, do we have another video or anything that we're going to close out with, Camille?
Yes. So this has been amazing. A big shout out to the MIPAD team and to the MIPADians from around the world. Thank you so much. Lola, thank you. Bolanle, Marissa, Karen, Regine, Jean-Baptiste, thank you. Joanna, all of you amazing MIPADians. And also from Geneva. Also, Marianne is here. Marissa, your team is also here. So a big thank you for making sure your team is here with us from the UN in Geneva. All right, so here's my final thought on this for you. All of you are storytellers. And one of the things that we're pushing at MIPAD as part of the creative economy is for you to tell your stories. Tina, you have an amazing journey. When you look at Bolanle's story, or Karen, super mom and just superwoman, being, this amazing executive at Werner Media. And Lola, how you end up in Sweden working with National Geographic. And all of you, who are on the call with us today, one of the things we encourage is for you to tell your story. So we're going to show a quick video from our partners. We've launched a service which can support you to actually write and tell that story. Write and tell that story. So I'm going to ask the studio to please just play this video as our closing video for you to tell that story, right? Tell that unique story. So studio, without further ado, please, let's have that video.
As a coach, consultant, or entrepreneur, you're probably burning to share your wisdom to a wider audience and boost your income in the process.
Studio, I don't think we can. Can we see the video?
But how?
Studio, let's do it one more time. We love you. You're doing a good job. And that's Prince. He handles the MIPAD studio. He's based out of London. So the weather must be getting to the computer over there.
I believe they are.
Right, one more time. All right, there you go.
What if writing simply isn't your forte? Luckily, bestsellingbook.com has worked with hundreds of professionals like you. We'll create your book and make it a #1 bestseller guaranteed. Then your credibility will skyrocket, enabling you to charge premium rates for your own products and services. You'll get invited to speaking gigs, shows, podcasts, and more. And with so many new clients flocking to you, you'll probably have to turn some down. Now, think this service will cost too much? Hardly. Think of the opportunity cost of spending hundreds of hours writing, editing, publishing, and marketing your own book. But spend just a few hours with us, and we'll do it all for you. Literally. Schedule a call to join our ever-growing list of authors who've gone from book idea to bestseller in just 6 months or less.
And we have a special, as MIPADians, of course, you get a sizable discount to tell that story. So we want to support you to tell the story, let the world know, be it through music, be it through art, be it through film, theater, whatever it is, we need to collectively begin to tell this amazing story. I love what Bolanle said. Lion King is not it. There's so much more that we can tell. So again, thank you so much. And I'm going to ask that our amazing Chief Operating Officer, the guy who really pulls all of this stuff together, I just show up, right? A big thank you to Tokwe, who is our Chief Operating Officer. So you can take us home. And thank you for the magic you create, be it virtually or be it in person. He's the one who handles the events at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Amazing. We missed that. So Tokwe, I just want to say thank you to you. So you can close out the day today. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys have said it all. Thank you so much to all the attendees, the speakers, and Dr. Marissa and everyone from the UN. This amazing session. We'll have it on YouTube, so you can always share the link for folks who couldn't be here today to kind of see all the great stuff that we talked about. So again, we'll be reaching out. We may have other virtual sessions coming up as well as regard to this creative year. So just, stay tuned. And thank you once again. Have a splendid Q2 2021 officially tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. See you soon.